Hey, how you doing, YouTube? We're going to jump into U.S. news. Going to get started with some comments from your boy Bernie Sanders. OG Bernie Sanders would like. This is an amazing interview because we have Biden employee Dana Bash, who I think just literally made an announcement that she is now working for the Biden administration. Wait, or am I missing something? Dana Bash works for Biden. Someone help me. I thought this woman worked for Biden. I just read on fucking Twitter. Bash was hosted president. Yeah, she was. They haven't. Okay. Anyway, that doesn't really matter as much. What I want to show here though is how Dana Bash is constantly. She's like, oh, I care. Oh, like Bernie Sanders brings up real legitimate problems. And Dana Bash is like, oh, I care so much and I would like to talk about those. But what about bipartisanship? What about bending the knee? Well, what about, don't we have to bend, shouldn't you have to bend your principles to agree with people you completely disagree with? Constantly, right? And the problem with the neoliberal Democratic Party is that they listen to people like Dana Bash, who the advisors and the cadre of specialists, right? That tell the Pete Buttigieg's of the world, oh, you have to act like this, you have to present this, this policy like this, and it's got to be all watered down, and everything needs to be leaning to the right, and that's the only way to win. And the only way to win is to like literally listen to what's that old freak's name? He constantly pops up on TV all the time. What the fuck is his name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. And where's the goofy hat? Oh God. No, he said it's the economy, stupid. Right on the tip of my tongue. James Carville. Right? It's the people who listen to James Carville as like who I swear to God, thank you, Clutch. They treat Carville like he's a fucking sage, like he's an oracle, right? And all he does is give you bog standard, basic ass advice about how the Democratic Party needs to keep capitulating to the conservatives to try to convert the moderate middle class into neoliberal Democrats. It's failed the Democrats time and time again. But they listen to people like Dana Bash and Carville. They listen to people. Welcome back, by the way, Clutch Cargo. So just what we're going to watch this interview here with Bernie, and you'll see exactly what the fuck I'm talking about.
You're voting.
Yeah. Skip this crap. We've all seen the fucking. This is about Kristen Sinema. But yeah, we've all seen the interview with Jake Tapper. If you haven't, YouTube it. I am not watching this again. I might have some kind of like hypertension fucking issue if I watch this interview again. This woman is a craven, sociopathic liar. This woman lies with the ease that I get up and take my morning piss. Okay? This woman glides into lies like one would glide onto the beach on a hang glider with ease and brilliance and elegance. I've never seen a liar quite like her. God help us all if she's ever in a legit position of power. And Dana Bash kind of likes the idea of a Kristen Sinema. You can kind of tell. I kind of like it. Look at her face when Bernie says, no, she's a corporatist. Look at Dana Bash's face, right? Don't look at Bernie. Look at Dana. And tell me what you see.
Here with me now is somebody who knows a thing or two about going his own way, Independent Senator Bernie Sanders.
Like the two are the same. Like what Bernie Sanders does is at any equivalent to what Kristen Sinema is doing. Fucking please.
Of Vermont. Senator, first, you are an independent. She is now the third official independent of the U.S. Senate, joining you and Angus King of Maine. What do you think of her decision and also what you just heard in her interview with Jake?
I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on Senator Sinema. She has her reasons.
I love it. He's exhausted. He's completely exhausted with this fucking nonsense. You can tell. It's a goddamn shame, Bernie. You had the whole world in your hand, bud. You had the whole world in your hand. Sure, Sure. The DNC will put up your picture when you're gone. I hope it's worth it.
Donna, I happen to suspect that it's probably a lot to do with politics back in Arizona. I think the Democrats there are not all that enthusiastic about somebody who helps sabotage some of the most important legislation that protects the interests of working families and voting rights and so forth. So I think it really has to do with her political aspirations
Didn't like that.
For the future in Arizona. But for us, I think nothing
Once it gets too much for Dana to handle, she starts to interrupt Bernie.
much has changed in terms of the functioning of the U.S. Senate. The good news is that we now have 51 votes. We'll have a majority on committees. It means that we can go forward and start protecting the interests of working families and deal with the reality that we are increasingly living in an oligarchy where the billionaire class and large corporations control almost every aspect of our country. So I would hope very much.
And listen to her lying about, oh, I care so much about all these things that you're talking about, but can we talk about bipartisanship and bending the knee to conservatism?
That with this new majority, Democrats will sit down and start fighting for the needs of ordinary Americans.
So I want to talk about some of those issues in a second, but first,
would you believe that she actually doesn't get to talking about some of those issues that would actually win Democrats elections? Would you believe that she never actually does get to those? Say it isn't so, Dana.
you were a very important figure on the campaign trail for progressives ahead of the midterms, as you normally are. I'm sure you're going to be campaigning for candidates in 2024. The outgoing Arizona Democratic Party official, one of them says that he expects Democrats will run their own candidate against her. Is that a good idea? Would you support a Democratic opponent against Senator Sinema?
I support progressive candidates all over this country, people who have the guts to take on powerful.
The reason why she's focusing on these questions is because she wants to give ammo to corporate Democrats who would make the argument that Bernie Sanders is not a quote-unquote real Democrat and that he actually wants to destroy the Democratic Party and that he should be replaced by a neoliberal. She's fully in that team, and she's trying to set Bernie up to basically say that. One more time, let's just listen to her question. You'll see what I mean. Look at the specific framing. The question tells us everything about what kind of answer she wants to receive. And then one must ask themselves, why does this person want that answer?
For progressives ahead of the midterms, as you normally are. I'm sure you're going to be campaigning for candidates in 2024. The outgoing Arizona.
Are you going to run against someone who could be a big winner? I mean, we need a centrist. We need someone who leans right in Arizona, or else we're not going to win, because we're not going to offer anything to anybody. The only thing we offer is blind partisanship to one party or another. So we got to play this game. There's no way the Democrats could possibly win an election if they promise single-payer health care and a myriad of other progressive policies. We have to play this shitty game where we have to focus our attention on 20% of the population who actually votes, because everyone else is completely checked out, because they've realized that politics doesn't mean anything because of people like you, Dana fucking Bash.
A Democratic Party official, one of them says that he expects Democrats will run their own candidate against her. Is that a good idea? Would you support a Democratic opponent against Senator Sinema?
Oh, we can't do that. We can't run. We can't primary Democrats. We can't primary them. That's terrible. Oh, if you primary a Democrat, that basically means you're a Republican who supports Trump. You would never want to do that. Please don't primary us. Please don't primary us with progressive candidates that could actually beat us. Oh, no. Our status quo might be destroyed, and then my job might be destroyed. If we get money out of politics, how will I get big paychecks from my media companies that are getting big paychecks from these below? Welcome back, Carpe Packs.
I support progressive candidates all over this country, people who have the guts to take on powerful special interests. I don't know what's going to be happening in Arizona. We'll see who they nominate, but certainly that's something I will take a hard look at.
Does she have the guts to take on powerful special interests?
Your face, watch this.
No, she doesn't. She is a corporate Democrat who has, in fact, along with Senator Manchin, sabotaged.
Guys, hold on. Okay, hold on. I've got to show you this. Okay, watch. This is what it looks like when you receive a phone call about someone you love, just got into a car accident. Watch. Look at her face.
They are. I'm sure you're going to be campaigning for candidates. One of them says that he expects Democrats will run their own candidate against her. Is that a good idea? Would you support a Democratic opponent against Senator Sinema?
I support progressive candidates all over this country. People who have the guts.
So he doesn't fall. He doesn't fall for this little trick there. Because what she wants him to say is that, I'm going to run against Democratic candidates. I'm going to, and then she gets to she basically produced a nice little juicy clip for the corporate neoliberal Democrats who want to run ads, who will pay for and run ads against Bernie Sanders, saying that he's not a real Democrat and that he wants to destroy the Democratic Party.
To take on powerful special
She's
interests.
a weapon.
I don't know what's going to be happening in Arizona. We'll see who they nominate, but certainly that's something I will take a hard look at.
Does she have the guts to take on powerful special interests?
No, she doesn't. She is a corporate Democrat who has, in fact, along with Senator Manchin, sabotaged enormously important legislation.
I want to talk about a major deadline.
She does a really good job hiding it, though. She does a really good job hiding it.
The government, and that is Friday. There's still no deal. Would you support another short-term extension instead of a larger bill to fund the government? And how worried are you about the government shutting down?
Short-term extensions are just a temporary solution to the ongoing crisis we face. Clearly, what I worry about is Republican efforts to hold hostage next year, if we don't get an omnibus bill passed, to hold hostage
Are you going to call out your own party for not doing everything they can to basically, pass something that would prevent this battle from happening? Your party, the neoliberal Democrats, have had all three, supermajority for years now. Are you going to call out their failure to, pass something that could prevent this yearly fucking, what is it, bi-yearly? Is every 2 years or something? Every 2 years, the Republicans get to hold a gun to America and they get more and more, presents and goodies, right? Crazy Bernie, please, Equaldari. If Bernie is crazy, then I'm fucking insane.
The government
don't answer me.
In order to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and that I will vigorously oppose. You got a lot of seniors out there who are not making it on Social Security today. A lot of working people who are approaching retirement, who have nothing in the bank. I don't want to see Social Security or Medicare cut. I will oppose that vigorously.
While I have you, you've been in Congress a long time, the House before the Senate. There certainly have been some notable bipartisan pieces of legislation that have passed and been signed into law, but arguably funding the government is up there, maybe even the top responsibility of you and your fellow members of Congress. Why does this keep happening?
Great question.
Well, I think it's happening right now because Republicans see it as an opportunity to hold us hostage and get demands that under normal circumstances they would not. Look, they have not been shy about making it clear. They want to cut Social Security, they want to cut Medicare, they want to cut Medicaid. And what they're saying is, hey, we are prepared to allow the United States government to default on our payments, bring the entire world perhaps into an economic crisis,
Senator,
unless you give us what you want.
I hear what you're saying about...
Oh, I hear you. Oh, yeah. Can we talk about something more substantive, like...
The differences right now, but over the past many years, Democrats and Republicans in charge, funding the government has just not happened, and we've been at this crisis point at the end of the year so many times. But I want to move on to a couple more issues that I know that you care about. One is the record-breaking $858 billion defense funding bill. The House passed that this week. The Senate is going to vote on it. You voted against the NDAA, the defense bill, last time around. Will you do so again?
Yes, I think I will.
Fucking Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Love it. I love it. And look, guess what, Davey? Hit the brakes, buddy. I know you're typing. Hit the brakes. This is why he's rejecting it. And I think you would agree that it needs to happen.
We have 85 million Americans who have no health insurance. We have 600,000 people who are homeless. We have a dysfunctional healthcare system dysfunctional child care system where working parents are paying $15,000 a year on average for child care. We have got to start protecting the needs of working families. The Pentagon is the one major agency of government which has never been independent.
So that's what I was getting at, is that he's saying, he's not saying we got to stop helping Ukraine and let Russia win the war, you know, like fucking like literally every Republican, right, who gets up there at the stump. He's not saying that. He's saying we got to audit this. We got to audit this incredibly corrupt intelligence agency that has literally never been audited. This is ridiculous, right? A little bit of pressure, a little bit of pushback, Okay, he knows it's going to pass anyway. He knows it's going to overwhelmingly going to pass. He knows that, but he's going to take this opportunity to inject a little bit of reality into it. It's the best he can do.
The Pentagon is the one major agency of government which has never been independently audited. There is massive waste and fraud,
right,
and cost overruns within that agency. So I think we can have the strong defense that we need without spending the huge amount of money that we're currently spending on the military.
Hey, yeah, I love it. And that doesn't mean that we, hell, I mean, how about we, cut some costs in the Pentagon and then use the savings to, further help Ukraine, right? What's wrong with that? Last little bit of U.S. news here. I thought I would show. We haven't shown Big Dick Richard Wolff lately because he's kind of really pissed me off with his wishy-washy pseudo defense of the Russian invasion. He's not doing the super hardcore song and dance that we're seeing from Aaron Mate and other people. But he is doing very wishy-washy about it. Very quick to mention NATO and all that. And but I haven't written him off completely because he does take the time to acknowledge that the invasion is completely unjustified, that Russia is acting as an empire and is acting illegally. But he does the usual tiptoeing around basically helping Russia by advocating for discussions and peace talks that he knows full well that Putin has no interest in engaging in. It's this weird, dishonest song and dance that I see from so many communist-leaning lefties right now, which is, masquerading this kind of pro-Russian defense, masquerading it with this kind of pro-peace kind of angle, like, oh, I'm just so pro-peace. I believe in peace. That's why I believe in not defending yourself and not accepting help, especially where it's needed. And it all falls apart with just a little bit of scrutiny. And I have yet to actually hear any of these hammer and sickle lefties acknowledge that Putin is not interested in discussions. He's and any kind of feint he does make towards it is obviously untrue. You don't offer up. You don't say, okay, I'm ready for peace. By peace, I mean, I'm ready for you to give up. I'm ready for you to literally give up everything and hand me my victory now. Right. That's not a peace discussion. That's a joke. And I have yet to hear any of these lefties who like to put a little peace badge on their lapel and be, oh, shucks, I'm just so pro peace. That's why I don't believe we should help Ukraine. They refuse to acknowledge that reality, and it's very frustrating. And I do believe Richard Wolff falls into that category, which is disappointing. With that said, if you ever want a good critique of American-style capitalism, Big Dick Richard Wolff is probably the best to go to. Never forget that this was the man who spanked Destiny so hard, his ass is still red, and not in the good way. So let's get to it. It's only a 3-minute clip. I thought we would hear from him again. It's not on Ukraine, Russia. So don't worry about that. I can tell you that the U.S. Navy is being audited every single year. I have to deal with it. Yeah, that's good, as it should be. As it should be. Every military organization, every intelligence organization should be audited by an independent, civilian-run, or at the very least, civilian-advised. Like, there should be an ability for civilian representatives to have some opinion about some of this shit. And of course, I mean, they would never pass any of these audits. The waste and fraud is absolutely off the charts ridiculous. You got the famous example of like, $1 million for a hammer or some shit, right? And that's just the little peak. That's just a little peak of a mountain of corruption beneath. Welcome back, by the way, Woke Patriot.
When you raise interest rates in the United States, given the importance of the United States in the world economy, you make interest rates go up everywhere in the world. This is a crisis for many, many poor countries. Emerging markets is the nice phrase we used for them, mostly in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. They are now in an impossible situation. They had to borrow for development of their countries because they're poor. To cope with the pandemic because they don't have the resources at home to do it. They had to borrow to pay for vaccines, to pay for all the ways of trying to cope with that horrible disease. Now they have to pay back the loans, but the interest rates are going up and they can't. So what are they doing? In order to keep the loan, they have to pay them off. Otherwise, new loans that they know they're going to need will not be available. But if they pay off at a higher rate, they're going to have to what? Constrict other expenditures to free the money to pay the higher interest rate. There ought to be a conversation. If the point of the interest rate rise here is to constrain the inflation here, why should we allow victims all over the world from this? Aren't there some ways we could insulate developing countries that we want to help to do something about the distance between rich and poor in the world that is so dangerous and destabilizing? Aren't there ways to raise interest rates here that don't have that impact? Of course there are. I'm an economist. I give you half a dozen. But it could have been put to the American. Nope. We're all going to read about the emerging debt crisis of poor countries as if it were some kind of natural event.
Yeah.
Cluck our tongues. Yeah. Say how
that's a great point, because that is how it's presented by the fucking O'Learys of the world, right? That these are just natural market forces, and that this is just this is just the natural cycle of it. No. These oligarchs are well aware of the damage that they do, and they know that that by accepting these certain loans, that this is what's going to happen. In fact, they count on certain things like that. A lot of these people are disaster capitalists, who use, according to Naomi Klein, something called the shock doctrine, where they take advantage of these massive fluctuations in the markets, these mini crashes, these larger crashes, these recessions and depressions. And especially in other countries, if it's not affecting me, if it's just some shithole third world country, yeah, great. I'll buy up that debt on pennies on the dollar, and I'll force them to pay it back, triple the interest, make hella bucks. They don't care.
How sad it is, but not understand that we could have been able to intervene, to express an opinion about how this ought to be managed. And we're going to live with the results. And if the poor countries of the world, where the majority of people live, suffer beyond what they are willing to tolerate, we will be drawn into conflicts that will cost us way more than anything we might have decided to do now to deal with that problem.
Yeah, and the reason why there's a great fear of real world violence is that the current reaction to resource scarcity is military, right? And that's not going to change anytime soon. So the more we allow things to get out of hand, right? The more that we allow the oligarchs and corporatists to exploit the third world, the more likely these things are going to blow back and hit us in very strange and weird ways, right? We can't get away with this forever, right? We really can't. There are some, and I suspect that maybe Davey falls into this category. There are some that believe that the United States is utterly superior, that the United States is a brand new paradigm, and that if there was ever a global empire that was somehow capable of running the whole world, it would be the United States, and it almost has to be the United States, like it's preordained. There are people who believe that. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Davey, but it's not sustainable. This idea that the whole world needs to work under America's under America's rules, or else you get turned into Cuba, as Clutch Cargo mentioned. Cuba is being utterly slammed by inflation. Clutch Cargo says they import food, oil, but have no foreign exchange currency. Daily power outages over the island. That regime could fall. I don't agree with the Cuban regime. I don't agree with what they're doing. I don't agree with the sanctions either. I think they should be, unless proven otherwise, unless they're, showing themselves to be mistreating their populace, and their populace disagrees with them, then we should treat them like trading partners everywhere else. Doesn't matter if they have a government that we disagree with. It's unbelievable that we're still continuing this Cold War anti-communism nonsense. I swear to God, man, I wish the majority of the time we were dealing with real communists. We're not dealing with communism when we deal with China. We're not dealing with communism when we deal with Russia, right? I feel a little bit more confident that we're dealing with a legitimate form of communism when we're dealing with Cuba. And whoop-de-doo, what? So we trade some resources with Cuba and we treat them like human beings? Whoop-de-doo, a communist country, what, makes a success of itself? Whoop-de-doo. That's not a challenge to U.S. power, right? And to perceive it as such is arrogance at its worst. Davey says, I think the U.S. is the best option to lead the New World Order, but I don't desire that the U.S. controls the entire world. Kind of a contradictory statement, wouldn't you say, Davey? But what I really enjoy about Davey and his comments is that they're always from the heart. You can always respect that. Woke Patriot, the Department of Health and Health and Human Services, by contrast, has passed 22 audits in its time. Oh, he's still talking about the auditing of our intelligence agencies. We'll have these audits, but then nothing will happen, right? Oh, you failed the audit. What does that mean? Is there any penalty for that, or is it, does anything get fixed, or right? That's my thing. So yeah, audit, and yeah, that's the naysayers will say, oh, see, Bernie hates Ukraine and he wants to, block funding, and that's not the case at all. Bernie Sanders is also 100% comfortable making this kind of criticism, knowing that that bill is going to pass with flying colors, as it always does. All right, so there you go, YouTube. That's our U.S. update. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe. Check out the Twitch channel. We're having fun right now. I show my naked body as soon as I hit stop recording. I swear to God. So you need to come check it out if you want to see this. Just morbid curiosity, right? I got a lot of weird scars. Come on by. Check it out. Thank you.